So first off, a little bit about where do these opportunities come from? So one of the things I learned when I took economics is classical economics says there shouldn't be any opportunities. Direct violation of economic theory, opportunities shouldn't exist. But they do. Why? And there are some opportunities that are out there for simple reasons. There's our arbitrage here. It's possible to buy something cheap here and sell it high price over there. And eventually that will disappear. But there's other places that opportunities come from. Opportunities don't only exist lying there waiting for you to find them, to be discovered. It's also possible to create opportunities that don't already exist. And this is a different approach. Searching and scanning won't work for that. It's possible to create an opportunity that nobody else can find because it doesn't yet exist. And so that's another place that you can go looking for. Discovery consists in seeing what everybody else does, but thinking what they don't. It's in the mind. It's the same situation. I mean, look at Amazon. All the pieces that Amazon relies on already existed. Books existed. Central warehousing existed. Courier companies existed. Selling things on the web existed. What's the big innovation? Nothing. There's no innovation in Amazon, except they thought about it differently. You didn't need any big market study. You just need to sit down and think a little better than other people. So there's all kinds of opportunities out there if you think about things differently or look at the world differently with different eyes. The same reality that everybody else sees, but you see it differently. So we actually believe, this is academic stuff now, that there are three types of opportunities. Ones are sitting out there that are purely just recognized. Everything about it is known. We know what the supply looks like. We know what the demand looks like. Straight deductive reasoning, you can figure these things out. Simple arbitrage. Then there are ones that are discovery. You know a little bit about it. Maybe you understand the market, but you have no idea how to satisfy it, what the supply side looks like. Or the reverse. We know what the supply can do. The technology is capable of this, but we have no idea who would want to buy it. And you can come and discover that there's an opportunity there. This thing could be sold to public speakers. But there are also these created ones where we don't know anything about the market or the supply side. But if we look at the world differently, we can start to see that there might be something there. And that requires something that we refer to as entrepreneurial alertness. And there's the definitions up there. This was all invented by an economist, one of the few economists who had any inkling that entrepreneurship existed, named Israel Kirzner, one of the Austrian School of Economics guys. Entrepreneurial alertness, it's something in your head. Sometimes we refer to it as having your antenna tuned, or putting on opportunity spotting glasses. It's looking at the world in a particular way that lets you to see opportunities. And we've done research around what causes this. You probably can't read this stuff, and it's too detailed anyway. What it really comes down to is having different mental frameworks, cognitive schema they're called, different mental frameworks of how you make sense of the world. So you walk into this room and you see a bunch of people sitting and one guy standing and talking. What's going on? And you go, that looks like a seminar. Why did you say that? Why did you frame it that way? Those mental frameworks that we apply to the world. If you can develop different frameworks than other people, you can create opportunities where nothing exists already. And so you will see things that nobody else can see. And there are very well-known ways in cognitive or educational psychology of how to do that. And so that's the kind of stuff those of us who are in the business of trying to teach entrepreneurship, because we believe anybody can learn entrepreneurship. Anybody can be an entrepreneur, and it can be taught, because that's how you do it. You teach the development of different cognitive schema. So that's fine. We're alert for things. And I'm not going to talk about opportunity spotting because there's a seminar about that, how to be alert or what kinds to be alert to. But I thought one thing that I would give you, definitely orthogonal to that one, is I could talk a little bit about things to at least to avoid the death magnets, right? Things that look like opportunities and aren't. So let me go through a few of these just to give you the idea. First off, we sometimes hear this one. You're looking for where's my business opportunity? Oh, you should pick the low-hanging fruit. What nonsense. I mean, just agriculturally, it doesn't make any sense, right? You go to a mango tree, you don't pick the low ones. They're not ripe. The ripe ones are up top where the sun is. And if there were any good ones hanging low, they would have been picked. If they're still hanging there, they must be rotten. Don't pick low-hanging fruit. Don't go for low-hanging fruit. Go for strategic fruit. the fruit that makes sense for your company and where you want to go. If it's low, hey, life is shining nicely on you. If it's up high, better start climbing and leave that low-hanging stuff there. It's a death trap. Don't go there. People do this all the time. Hey, these ones. Yeah. Our product sucks less. We don't actually have a very good product. But at least it's better than competition because theirs really sucks. A lot of people build a business strategy around that. The opportunity I'm going to pursue is I'm going to put a product out there that's not as crappy as theirs. Of course, it leaves you wide open to be killed one day by somebody who actually comes out with a good product, because yours isn't. And the corollary, creeping adulteration. I mean, if it's okay for your product to suck, so long as it doesn't suck as bad as theirs, if that's okay, well, think about this. We could make, so our product kind of sucks. Not as bad as theirs. We could change the formulation or the manufacturer or the marketing or something. We could change it so it sucks 5% more, but it's 10% more profitable. That's a rational business decision. So we do, and the suckage goes up. Now we do the same thing. We could worsen the product again, save costs, margins go up, we'll do it again. And you're on that slippery slope that takes you all the way down to completely unsaleable garbage, like American beer. Sometimes people get caught by budgets. We got a plan, we got a business plan that says what we're going to do. So if it's not in the plan, we're not doing it. If it's not in the plan, but it's a real opportunity, change the plan. It's a good opportunity. Blind consistency. That's the way we've always done it. That's the strategy that we want. Yeah, so having a strategy means we know what we're going to do and we know what we're not going to do. But you can't be blind about it. The world changes. You've got to revisit your assumptions. Because all those assumptions you're going to make in a business plan, I mean, let's be honest. We're just pulling them out of the air anyway. Life never unfolds the way your business plan says, so don't be tied to it. The kiss of yes, backwards compatibility. If you're going to follow a strategy, though, you have to be willing to say no to some things. Like, that's an opportunity, sure, but not for us. That's an opportunity for somebody, but we're not pursuing it. You can't chase after everything. You see, I've just contradicted myself. There's a balance to be done there, and you've got to find it. Are you going to let the market, you can be flexible, let the market teach you where the opportunity is. Don't come in arrogant and try, we're smarter than our customers. Ooh, death of the company. Let the market teach you. On the other hand, don't follow every butterfly that comes floating by. Oh, look, we can do this now. Now we could do this. You've got to be willing to say no to some things. Backwards compatibility. So we were selling this product to these customers, and now we're going to start doing this. Should we keep satisfying those customers? The new version should be backwards compatible, so that our early adopters are still happy with it. That's a death trap, too. There comes a time in your company when you should get rid of those early adopters. You should fire customers. There are customers who are not worth having. You needed them in the early days. They taught you where the opportunity was. They led you to the money. And now it's time to let them go. Brand extension, outsourcing. I think I'll skip some of these. Ape the gorillas. This is people who have cause and effect backwards. It's like, I want to be a software company. I notice all the big successful software companies have these huge launch parties. So I'm going to have huge launch parties. Right? There's 3 people in my company, I'm going to buy a Super Bowl ad. You don't copy their results. You copy the causes of those results. What did they do that allowed them to do that? Produce great products and churn them relentlessly. That's the stuff you should copy. Always buy market share. Yeah, there used to be this is one academically blamed for this. We used to say, you would read in Harvard Business Review or something, get big and then turn it profitable. We now know that's not true. There's very few companies ever pull that off. We've studied lots and lots of companies and their trajectories year over year, and the people who make money are the people who made money right from the beginning. Be profitable from day one. Don't think about, I'm going to dominate this market. You know, we lose $1 on every sale, but we make it up on volume. It doesn't work. So be profitable from day one. That's kind of it. I think I'll skip that one as well. All right, last thing I want to talk to you, because it's getting close to dinner time here. I've mentioned a few times that success in entrepreneurship means thinking differently than other people. I want to talk a few things about how to think differently. And it's hard. First of all, thinking is hard. I have a thing I tell my students, and I warn them in my first lectures. If you let people believe that they're thinking, they'll love you. But if you actually make them think, they'll hate you. Because clear thinking is hard work. We measured it. It burns calories. You can burn a lot of calories sitting and playing chess. The brain really takes a lot of effort. So thinking carefully to not fall into those standard traps that every entrepreneur falls into and kills the company. You want to avoid those? You've got to think better than all those other entrepreneurs. And certainly better than all those other people who are not entrepreneurs. So I want to talk a few things, or give you a few pointers or ways about thinking differently. Because as I suggested, people think entrepreneurs are crazy. I mean, you go out, I know what was your reaction you got from your friends and from your families. I'm going to be an entrepreneur, and you get this reaction like, are you crazy? You've got a good job in an insurance company. Why are you leaving it? They'll think you're crazy. And the problem is, they might be right. You know, I'm going to give up all of this to chase this opportunity. It might be a death trap. They might be right. You might be crazy. How would you know? How would you know? You're the last person you should listen to. You've drunk your own Kool-Aid. You believe this stuff. How would you know? You have to be quite careful about how you think about things, how you decide things, which data you rely on, which analyses you do to make sure you aren't fooling yourself. There's all kinds of stuff people believe out there, and just as a little example, this is a map of the tongue. Everybody learned this back in elementary school? I learned this in grade 4. Different areas of the tongue taste different things, right? Sweetness is tasted on the tip and bitterness at the back, right? We all know that. It's not true. We've known that's false since 1974. We still teach it to kids. And probably most of us still believe it. It's not true. And if you carefully experiment with your own tongue, you'll find out that it's not true. You don't taste sweet just with the tip of your tongue. We know that. But people believe it. People believe all kinds of stuff out there. Whoops, lost the slide here. Where are we going? Why is it going backwards? Because we all have these what we call lay theories. I think I know how the world works. And it doesn't work that way. And if you can't figure out that you're following some theory that's not true, you will make predictions on it. See, the whole value of having theories about things is it allows you to predict the world. If I do this, this will happen. You know, if I do A, B will happen. Where B is, I get rich. I have a successful company. But if that theory is wrong, you'll spend all your time doing the wrong stuff. And the problem is, what gets frustrating for those on the academic side is, we know all this stuff's not true. We know all this false beliefs out there, and it's hard to get the word out, which is one of the things that motivates me to come do things like this. We want you guys to know. But it's a long process between when researchers discover something that gets written up in some academic journal, eventually it makes its way into a textbook, so then students come and they learn it, but that takes them at least 4 years to get through university. Nowadays it's like 6. And then they got to go out and work, and it takes them 10 years in the workforce before they have a position of any influence, and they can finally get the company to stop doing that nonsense. It's 20 years, which means the average business people out there on the street are relying on theories that are 20 years old, and many of them are wrong, and we know it. So there's all this nonsense out there. And sometimes I get this argument, well, yeah, that's what people used to do, but we're all much smarter now. And people used to believe all kinds of, but not now. Now we've got the internet, we know everything. And I wonder about that sometimes. I have this picture there, that's the Earth. You know, this light is shining on one side and it's dark over here. And there's a line on the Earth between where it's light and dark. It's called the terminator. And this line, if you think about it, slowly in 24 hours sweeps around the Earth. Okay? On that line, it's morning. The sun is just coming up. If you're standing right there, you will see the sunrise. And if you wait, the terminator will sweep past you and the sun will come up. Right? Everybody who's on that line is brushing their teeth. Everybody here brush your teeth this morning? Good. There's this line that circles the Earth, and everybody who's on this line brushes their teeth. Everywhere they brush teeth. And this circling terminator of toothbrushing goes around the Earth 24 hours, non-stop. Why? I mean, you all brushed your teeth. Why did you brush your teeth? Don't want to make it too interactive here. So, rhetorical question, let's say. Usually I would stop at this point and figure out, Maurizio, why do you brush your teeth? You typically get answers like, well, because it's good for me. Yeah, how do you know that? And if you push a little bit, it's because my mom told me when I was little. All right, fine. Why did she believe it? Well, because her mom told her.
Yeah.
No, the dentist said so. Oh, yeah? Why does she believe it? I mean, why does your dentist believe that toothbrushing is a good idea? Because that's what she was told when she was in dental school by a professor of dentistry. Why did he believe it? Because that's what his professor told him. Has anybody actually tested to see whether this is true? Does toothbrushing really stop cavities? I mean, the only evidence I've ever seen is some commercial put on by a toothpaste company, hardly an impartial source. How do you know that it's true? I happen to believe it's true. I brush my teeth as well. But you don't know. And if you start to push at, why do I believe these things? You find out that a lot of our beliefs are on shaky grounds. The foundations are very weak. They might be wrong. This one I don't think is wrong. Please continue to brush your teeth. But what else do you believe for no good reason at all? Think about it. How much nonsense is there in your head that was put there by your kindergarten teacher? What does she know? You're going to run your life based on what her knowledge of the world is? Where did she get it from? Another kindergarten teacher. You've got to be willing to challenge some of this. You want to think differently than everybody else. You want to break away from the herd and not be crazy. You've got to throw out the garbage. You've got to decide what is the truth. And we can have an interesting discussion about epistemology here. What does it mean for something to be true? Because there's positivist truths, objective truth. The kind of, when you ask somebody, how do you know something's true? This is what automatically springs to mind. Like, is it raining outside now? And we say, no. How do you know? Because I can stick my hand out and it doesn't get wet. That's positivist, objective reality. But that's not the only kind of truth, and that's not the only place you can go digging for opportunities. There's subjective truth, interpretive truth. It's true because I believe it, and I guide my life that way. Now, I don't have an opinion about whether it's raining or not. That's an objective reality. But there are lots of other things. Subjective. There's a couple others as well I'm not going to talk about. But I do want to talk briefly about this subjective reality because it's a huge place to go hunting for opportunities that most entrepreneurs overlook. Because we're so drilled into thinking about the world in positivist terms. There's subjective reality. It's real. And if you've traveled at all at the airport, you would have seen this very clever advertising campaign by HSBC. You know, that's an example of one of their ads. Same objective reality. These women are doing the exact same thing. Which one are you willing to pay for, to go to, and which one are you willing to pay money to be saved from, spared? That matters. But it's not objective. You can't measure that. It's not a physical reality of the world, but that's what drives the sales in that industry. This subjective, interpreted reality is a real source of business opportunity. So you should think about that as well. Don't just go looking at the purely objective, positivist kinds of things in the world. For instance, because you get trapped into this way of thinking about the world. And I have this example, these monkey traps. They have in some parts of South India, maybe they have them in the north as well. Farmers have a real problem with monkeys. Monkeys come and they steal the crops. Right? And there's lots of monkeys. The forest can be full of monkeys. It's a big issue for these farmers. They get really angry about the monkeys. So one of the ways I found out that they catch these monkeys, they have a jar, clay pot usually. And it's chained to a tree. And inside they put a banana. And the monkey comes along, there's a banana in there, reaches in the pot, grabs the banana. If you're holding the banana, you can't get your hand back out. But the monkey says, by definition, holding a banana is always better than not holding a banana. That's my objective. I want to hold as many bananas as possible. So, monkey's got the banana. Can't get out, but that's okay, I got a banana. Life is better than it was this morning. Here comes the farmer. This is not good news for the monkey. The monkey's freaking out because he knows trouble ahead. Farmer's coming. Do you think the monkey will let go of the banana? They never do. Life just got worse. Farmer's coming. He's holding a big shovel. But I still got a banana. So if I let go of it, life's even worse. Now I got a farmer and I don't even have a banana. And they get caught every time. Because they're prisoners of how they look at the world. The mental boxes that we carve up the world. So are you. So am I. We're all prisoners of these concepts that we have. What constitutes a win or a loss, gain or loss there? What's possible, what's impossible, what's good, what's bad. The categories that we carve the world up into force us to see the world that way and prevent us from seeing opportunities that other people might. You got to be willing to throw out the garbage. So for instance, there's Sir Isaac Newton. Anybody ever done this thing? You have a prism and you shine a white light through it and you get this rainbow color out there, right? All the colors of the spectrum. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And I learned that in grade 2. And it took me, I must have been 45 years old before I finally had the intellectual honesty with myself to admit that I don't know what color indigo is. I know all those other colors, but I can't point to something. I never once in my life said, look at that thing, it's indigo. I didn't know what color indigo is. I mean, okay, think badly of me, but I didn't know. So I went and I looked it up. Indigo is a plant. It grows in northwest India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, all those sort of dry areas there. And it looks like that. It's got purple flowers, and when you grind them up, it produces a dye, this blue dye. And they started using it a long time ago to dye blue jeans. The color of blue jeans, that's indigo. No, it's not. They're blue jeans. They're not indigo jeans. Indigo's the plant where we get this dye from. What color is the dye? It's blue. So I finally had the courage to say, you know what? There's no such color. There are only 6 colors of the rainbow. It's the same spectrum. And Sir Isaac, he's still cool with it. But I've now decided there are only 6 colors in the rainbow, not 7. Nothing changed objectively in the world, but my mental boxes that I carved the world up into just had a big change. And anybody can be different on these things. I discovered in the course of looking at this stuff, there are people in the world who carved the rainbow up into 2. There are only 2 colors, red and blue. They still see all the colors. They know that the grass is different color than the tree. They just don't say that that's light green and dark green. They're red or they're blue. The world just has 2 colors, that's it. These people are not stupid. They're not blind. Some ethnobiologists have gone in and found out they actually have better color vision than we do. But they mentally carve the world differently. How are we mentally carving the world? And what's it permitting us to see and preventing us to see? All kinds of pitfalls out there. Things that happen because people don't examine how they think about the world, the preconceptions that they have, all these kinds of bubbles that pop out, all these psychological problems that we all have, the psychological bias that we have, and we all have them because that's the way our brains have evolved. We are full prey to this particular psychological bias, but way, way back it helped us to escape getting eaten by a tiger or something. So we're all this way. Now, for instance, look at this. I ask people, which ones is the random set of stars? And most people see patterns and clumps in this group. Not that group. This is the random group. The blue ones, that's the random group on the right. Those people are wrong. That's not the random group. That's an orderly group, the blue. The left one is random. Most people have no idea what random looks like. Random always contains clumps and patterns. A random string of heads and tails will always, if you flip long enough, there will always be a time when it's heads 27 times in a row. Guaranteed, it will happen. Random does not mean uniformly distributed. We're lousy at this, all of us. I can pull lots of examples of things, statistics. Humans cannot think intuitively about statistics. We're just not wired that way. Like, I was having a conversation with someone, there's a curse of Sports Illustrated, right? The curse is, that's a sports magazine if you don't know. Whoever shows up on the cover of it, definitely going to lose. And it happened again. You show up on the cover of this magazine, it's the curse, it will jinx you. You're a great basketball player, they put you on the cover of Sports Illustrated, it happened to Michael Jordan, put you on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and suddenly your career will tank. Why? It sure looks real. Why does it appear to work? And a lot of people believe it. It's nonsense. It comes up because of one of these statistical things called regression to the mean, which most people don't understand. Things that are highly extreme continue to be extreme, but not that extreme. Or the other way, simple way to think about it is they only put Michael Jordan on the cover when he's had a really good streak. But he can't keep that up. So of course he's going to go back down again, but then they don't put you on the cover. Lots of people get mixed up about stuff like this. I'm not picking on those particular cases, but it's examples of these cognitive biases that we all have. Most people don't have a good understanding of, we've all heard correlation is not the same as causation. And correlation, two things go along together. Right? The more of this you get, the more of that you'll get. The two things are correlated. And as humans, we're naturally wired to see patterns and try to create theories and causes, so we will think that must be causing that. For instance, the more ice cream trucks there are out on the street, the more children drown. I'm not making this up, it's true. I can pull you the numbers if you want. It's true. Ice cream trucks out on the street, dead children. What should we do about this? Are they causing it? Of course not. Ridiculous example. What's happening? Is the drowning attracting ice cream trucks? Maybe it's being caused the other way. What's happening is something else. It's summer. When it's summer, you get ice cream trucks and you get children swimming. Therefore, you get more drowning. Not many drownings in the winter. Right? Some other factor. Ice cream trucks and children, or number of firefighters and how bad the damage is. You know, the more firefighters you send to put out the fire, the worse the damage will be. We should stop sending them. People will think this way. I'm not picking on anybody. I do this kind of reasoning all the time. It's the way our brains are wired. Right? This is the one I get in school. The more that we tutor children or students in the university, the worse they do. We should stop tutoring. We're all wired this way to do these things. We have these cognitive biases. There's a bunch of them that affect us. And the reason I'm spending any time on this is because I have these, so do you. So do entrepreneurs. And if you're going to do something different than everybody else and think better than other people, you've got to know about this. You have to be able to adjust for this. It's important for two reasons. First of all, you have these biases, so be careful when you've started to believe your own stuff, because you may have fooled yourself. Okay. First one, confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is once you've decided that something is good, you will only notice data that supports your opinion. It will leap out at you. Oh, there's another report saying I'm brilliant. And you will not notice the data that disagrees with you, even if it's in your face. You become blind to it. We all do. So you've got to be careful about forming opinions, because once you form an opinion, you're a sucker for this. So we have to be careful we don't suck ourselves in with this. And the second one is, these biases are also shared by everybody else. Your competitors, your customers, they're going to fall prey to this. How do you use that? If you can cause your competitor to frame the world this way, not that way, they'll march along with the herd, do this, and meanwhile you're off doing something else. Because you can cause them to think this way. You can cause them to fall into these traps. So, useful stuff to know. One quick example. I'm almost done. Overconfidence, one of the ones on the list there. Overconfidence is, entrepreneurs need confidence. Overconfidence is not confidence. Overconfidence is something different. Confidence means, I'm good at this and I know it. I can do that. I have skill. Confidence is, I'm this good and I know that I'm that good. Overconfidence is, I'm this good, but I think I'm that good. I'm good at it, sure, but I think I'm great. This is very dangerous because you will start believing your projections, you will start believing your abilities, you will overestimate all sorts of things, burn through all kinds of resources, not deliver something, your investors will get mad. I mean, there's whole bad stories of life as an entrepreneur unfold because you fell for your own overconfidence. And I wonder, do we have this problem here? You know, like, repeatedly on studies, 80% of investors rank themselves as above average in their abilities. Can't be. 50% have to be below average by definition. That's what average means. Right? And people will say, yeah, okay, that's those other people. I can see some of you are thinking this already. Yeah, what he's talking about, that's other people, not me, though. I'm way too smart for that. That's what everybody thinks. Everybody, when I talk about this stuff, thinks, that's all interesting. That's how all those other people are. But not me. I don't do any of this. We all do. I do this stuff too. Particularly, self-attribution bias. Self-attribution bias, watch out, entrepreneurs fall to this one all the time too. Self-attribution bias means if things go well, it's because I'm so good. I'm so skillful. I'm so smart, so hardworking. I'm the reason it went well. If things went bad, it's those other people. The economy tanked. My employees let me down. My suppliers, something. It's their fault. If it's good, it's me. Particularly males have this more. I think the women in the room will probably agree with that statement. They've seen it, and I see lots of males in the room. We have to watch out for this. Because we start believing that the success was because I'm so good, so I can do it again. In fact, I can do it anytime I like, overconfidence combined. No, you can't. You were just lucky. There's a tremendous amount of humility you need to inject. There's an awful lot of luck and chance in entrepreneurship. So, you've got to be careful about believing our own hype. We're trying to produce a business plan that's going to convince other people, so you've got to sell. But you've got to be careful, because you've got to tell the truth. You're about to spend all your time and your money and your reputation and your passion and your effort, all that stuff on this. Don't you want to know the truth? I mean, even if you never show that version of the business plan to anybody else, you should have one where you tell the truth to yourself. And you've got to be careful to tell the truth to yourself, because it's hard to know what the truth is. We're so good at lying to ourselves because of these biases. You guys think I'm making this stuff up. All right. Take out a piece of paper. You didn't think you'd get homework. Interactive exercise. Take out a piece of paper. I want you to write something down. You don't have to show anybody. Right? I want you to write your 90% confidence interval. If you don't know what 90% confidence interval is, it means I don't want a number, I want two numbers, a range that you are 90% sure will catch the right answer. For instance, how tall do you think I am? 5'11", okay? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Give me a range that you're pretty sure.
I'm 70% sure.
That I'm with between what?
Between 5'10" and
70% sure that I'm between 5'10 and 5'11". That's a 70% confidence interval. If you wanted a 90% confidence interval, you would make the range a little wider. Then you'd be more confident, right? So I would like you to, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I would like you to write down your 90% range. The range that you're 90% sure brackets the truth. As it turns out, you lose. I'm 6 foot even. So I'm at 30%. All right? Now, I want to do this quickly because you don't need to think about this a whole lot. Just put down your range. I'm going to throw up 10 questions up here. For each one, I want you to write between this and this. So, how tall is Dave? As you go. 5'10", 5'11". Just a lower bound, upper bound that you think catches 90% chance of having the truth. You ready? This goes fast, so keep your pens going. Okay, first one. How many cities are there in the world with more than 5 million people? Just two numbers, somewhere between this and this. Okay. Next one. I told you I'm going fast. How far is it from Vancouver to Singapore? Straight as the crow flies, in kilometers. How far is it? What would you say? Give me, not a single number, give me your range. I'm 90% sure that it would be between this many kilometers and this many. Got the idea? Everybody keeping up? Next one. How deep is the ocean? The deepest place in the ocean. How deep is it? In meters. Next one. How many calories are in a Big Mac? What would you say? You must have an opinion about it. Oh, okay, it's within this and this. What would you say is your range? Next one. How many bicycles are there in China? Hey, that might be important if that's your market. We have to deal with numbers like this all the time, and they're plucked out of the air. Well, okay, how confident are we about these numbers? How many bicycles do you think there are? Between this many and this many. How tall is the CN Tower? You can see it from here. How tall is it? In meters. What would you estimate? Somewhere between this many meters and this many. What range would you put down? What's your 90% interval? Next one. How many moons does the planet Jupiter have? I'm trying to get these from all the sorts of different areas. So being an expert in something won't help you or won't harm you that you don't know much about it. If you don't know any astronomy, you'd probably give a wider range. Next, what's the daily circulation of the New York Times? On a typical weekday, how many copies of the Times do they print? So not the Sunday Times, because they print way more of those. Next one, what's the hottest naturally occurring temperature? On the surface of the earth, not inside an oven or something. Normally you could go outside and walk and wow, it's this hot today. What would you say? In degrees Celsius. Lower and upper bound. 90% sure it's probably within that range. Next one. What percentage of the population of Mexico is younger than 15 years old? Another one might be in your market assumptions for your business plan. Okay, that's our 10. Everybody got them? You got your ranges? Now I want you to score yourselves. You don't have to show anybody, so score it honestly. Just keep track of, yeah, I got it, my number, my range catches the right answer, or no, I didn't. So just check marks or X.
If you have a wider range, yes or no? It's okay.
Ready? First one. 33 cities in the world, a population of more than 5 million. Okay? Whoops. Catch up my sheet here. Next one. How far is it to Singapore? 12,800 kilometers. Did you get it? Is it inside your range? Yes. Otherwise, no. Next one. How deep is the ocean? 10,920 meters. Oh, you got one down. Good man. The Challenger Deep. Mariana's Trench. Next one. 560 calories in a Big Mac. You get it? You got it? It's in your range? All right. Next one. How many bicycles are there in China? 500 million. Got another one. He's smiling back there. Okay, next one. How tall is the CN Tower? We live right next to it. How tall is it? 553 meters. Okay? Next one. How many moons does the planet Jupiter have? And I remember, now I'm talking about grade 6, I learned all the moons in the solar system. Jupiter has 12 moons, Saturn has 9. Jupiter has 63 moons.
That's great.
Knowledge changes. New York Times, how many copies do they print? 1.1 million every day. How hot has it been outside? Naturally occurring temperature, what's the peak? 58. And last one, what percentage of the population of Mexico is younger than 15? 32. All right, now I want to know how you did. Okay, so it was your 90% confidence interval, which means out of 10 questions, you should have got 9 right. So hands up all of those who got 9 right. Okay, that's fine. 8, 7, 6. I don't think I'll go any lower. Now, just before I point out what this is telling us, this is a very valuable little exercise here. I'll confess, I scored 3 on this. You should have scored 9. Every point that you scored lower than 9 is a measure of your overconfidence. Because you made the range too narrow. Because you thought you were right. You were confident in your knowledge. Your confidence was here, but your actual knowledge was only down here. You were wrong. But you didn't know it. This is a measure. This is a well-validated scale. This is a measure of exactly how full of BS you are. It is. This is a measure of how much you should not listen to yourself. This is a measure of how wrong your gut instincts are. This is marvelous news. Don't be discouraged. This is fantastic news. You should be happy about this because you know it. Yesterday, you were just as full of it, but you didn't know it. You believed it. Now you know. You know how much not to trust your own instincts. Because if you had, you'll put your company out of business. Because your gut is wrong. Your gut is wrong about lots of stuff. All those cognitive biases, I've just talked about 1 or 2. There's dozens of them. And if you don't know about them, they can sink you. So, it's good to know yourself so that you can start looking at the world differently and see things that you don't currently see. Because you want to be able to see things. Remember that diamond lying on the ground? Everybody thinks it's a rock. You want to be able to see things that other people can't see. So you've got to throw out the garbage and you got to look and see. Because there's lots of people out there, whoops, who don't know the difference. I had Isaac Newton and the spectrum of colors up there. Let me talk one last time. Last thing I want to say about rainbows. Because I like rainbows. It's like, I don't care what anybody else thinks. I think they're beautiful. I've always thought that. When I was a little boy, I would always stop and look at them. I still do. I'll stop cold. It's like, oh my God, it's a rainbow. And stop and look at them. They're amazing. Everybody here's seen rainbows? Everybody looked at rainbows? Anybody here who hasn't? Like, we all know rainbows. They're charming. Right? We've all looked at them. Have you ever actually seen one? I mean, you've all looked at them. Your whole life you've seen rainbows. Did you ever actually really see it? Let me ask you a few questions about rainbows. Just another sort of self-assessment. Because here's something that's been in your life experience for dozens of times. Maybe you've seen hundreds of rainbows. Yeah, have you ever seen a single one? Let me ask you. I already said there's 6 colors in the rainbow. 6 on the little picture there. Yeah, whoops. What color is, what sequence? Starts at red, ends at violet, fine. Is the red on the outside or the inside? Just think about it, don't shout out. Just, what do you think? Next one. Is there any difference in the sky above and below? Like this sky here versus this sky here? Do they look the same or do they look different? And if they look different, what's different about them? I mean, you've seen lots of rainbows, right? You should know. How many bows are there? Is there one rainbow? Are there multiple rainbows? Are there sometimes many? If there's more than one, do they all have the same sequence of colors? Or at least, you know, are they all the same? The red or the violet, the same order? Are rainbows always the same size? Are they sometimes big and sometimes little? Or are they always the same? And if you think they're always the same size, what size are they? Now that's a difficult thing to ask about something in the sky. We normally talk about the size of things in the sky by degrees. Like how wide is it? What angle is it? Something like that. That's 45 degrees wide rainbow. This would be like a 10-degree rainbow. You could have a 180-degree rainbow right over your head, I suppose. I don't know how you'd see it, but are they always the same size? What size? How high in the sky are rainbows? Is it always the same? What time of day do they show up? Is it always the same, or they can show up anytime? What direction? What part of the sky are they in? Are they always in the north, for instance? Are they always in the cloudy part? What? Where do rainbows appear? You've seen lots, right? We've all seen rainbows. This should be easy. Do rainbows end at the horizon? Do they sometimes end above? Do they ever go below the horizon? Okay? So, I'm not going to make people stand up and disclose their counts, but think to yourself, 6 simple questions about rainbows, about a naturally occurring phenomenon that you've seen hundreds of times. Yeah, have you? Do you know the answers to all 6? You should. It's a simple exercise. I'm going to tell you the answers. And you can keep your score to yourself, or something to talk about over dinner, how you did on the rainbow test. What's the color sequence? Red, orange, green, blue, no indigo, violet. The red is on the outside. The red is always on the outside. It never shows up on the inside. Red is on the outside. Any difference in the sky above or below? Oh yeah, big time. The sky up here is dark, and the sky down here is bright white. Maybe you've never noticed that, but now that you know, you go look at a rainbow, it's striking the difference in the sky above and below a rainbow. Next one, how many? There's always 2.
Wow.
In theory, there's a 3rd one, but you can't see it because it's always close to the sun. There are 2. What sequence? The main one, it's got red on the outside, but there's always a secondary bow a little bit farther out, and the red is on the inside. Always. It's always there. And it's always that sequence. How high in the sky? Always the same size. How wide is the bow? Rainbows are always the same size. They don't change size ever, and they are 42 degrees wide. Every rainbow, always 42 degrees. And that secondary bow, which is usually a little fainter, sometimes it's hard to see, with the one with the colors reversed, is 10 more degrees farther out, 52 degrees. Always, every rainbow has been the same size. How high in the sky? Where in the sky do they appear? What time of day? Rainbows always appear directly opposite the sun. So if the sun is up there, the rainbow will be down there. Well, that's the Earth in the way, you won't see it. So you see it when the sun is over there, the rainbow will be over there. Which means it's either dawn or it's sunset. Rainbows appear early in the morning or late in the evening. They never appear in the middle of the day. Time of day. What direction? Always opposite the sun. Now, rainbows need water droplets in the air, and that's usually not the case in the early morning, because we usually get rain in the afternoons. So the most common time for a rainbow is late in the afternoon, which means the sun is in the west, so rainbows show up in the east. There are never rainbows in the north. It's impossible. Never happened in your life that there was a rainbow in the north. Rainbows are almost always in the east. Time of day, what direction? End at the horizon? Rainbows end where the water ends. So if there's no water down near the horizon, the rainbow stops. And if the water keeps going, because the water is closer than the horizon, the rainbow keeps going past the ground. In fact, you can try this. If you get one more warm day, stand outside with the sun directly overhead and spray the hose. You better be wearing your bathing suit. Spray the hose around, and you will see a rainbow perfectly formed, exactly opposite the sun, 108 or 360 degrees around you. We've all looked at rainbows. Simple thing. Have any of you ever seen one before? You should never, at least one thing you'll get from having come and listened to my talk is you will have another experience of beauty of rainbows, because you will find that every rainbow looks like that. And if you want to be a successful entrepreneur and think differently, you've got to learn how to open up your eyes. If you didn't score 6 on the rainbow quiz, your eyes aren't open. What else are you missing? This doesn't matter, except aesthetically. What else are you missing that matters in your business? Open up your eyes. Thank you.